Hey, is that your uniform?
Yes, sir. I just got back from deployment.
You got some kind of ID that proves you're military?
Yes, it's in my pocket. And may I ask why you need to see it?
No, you may not.
Wait, what? You serious right now?
Hands up, don't reach for anything.
Officer, you just asked me for my ID.
That moment would change everything. In less than 3 days, the Pentagon would be involved. The Department of Justice would launch an investigation, and the man standing on the cold concrete, a decorated Marine, would be the center of a case that could put a local officer behind bars for decades. Before we go further, I need to ask you something. Where are you watching from right now? And if you want to hear the full story, hit that subscribe button. It matters. Sergeant Andre Lewis was 28 years old, and he had just returned from his third combat deployment. He wore his full-dress uniform, medals shining on his chest, and the words U.S. Marinias clearly stitched across his jacket. He had 2 Purple Hearts from being wounded in battle and a Bronze Star for saving lives under enemy fire. Today, he was not looking for trouble. He just wanted to get home to his mother, 50 miles away. He drove through the small town slowly, thinking about surprising his family. The morning had been perfect. His welcome home ceremony at base had been heartfelt. Hugs, laughter, a few tears, and now he was only a short drive away from home. But a stop for gas would change everything. Officer Marcus Ricks, 34 years old, had been on the force for 8 years. On paper, he seemed competent, a normal deputy sheriff. In reality, he had a long history of complaints. 4 separate civilians had accused him of stopping black people without cause. No action had ever been taken. Every time, the cases were closed. But the memory of those stops lingered in the community. People warned each other, "Watch out for Fricks." And today, Fricks noticed something he had never seen before: a black Marine in full uniform. Suspicion flared instantly. Lewis parked at the pump, stepped out, and started filling his tank. He called his sister, whispering that he was close. "Don't tell Mom," he said. "I want it to be a surprise." He didn't notice Frick's approach. Fricks came out of the gas station, coffee in hand, and stopped when he saw Lewis. The medals, the uniform, the black man wearing them. He walked closer, hand hovering near his belt, eyes narrowed. "Sir, are you in the military?" Fricks asked. "Yes, sir. Just returned this morning," Lewis replied, tired but polite. "Do you have ID?" "Right here," Lewis said, reaching slowly into his pocket. "Hands up. Don't reach for anything else," Frick snapped. Lewis froze. He had been trained for hostile situations, but this wasn't a war zone. This was a gas station, 50 miles from home. He raised his hands slowly. "Officer, this is my ID. I'm showing it to you like you asked." Fricks didn't hesitate. "On the ground. Now." "Sir, I'm just trying to get home to my family," Lewis said quietly, trying to stay calm. "I said now." With no choice, Lewis got on his knees. The metals on his chest scraped against the cold asphalt. His dress uniform touched the pavement for the first time outside of base. He felt the sting of humiliation, but he stayed calm. He had faced bullets and explosions before. He could handle this. Fricks patted him down roughly. He found the military ID, dog tags, deployment orders. Everything was real. Lewis handed over the paperwork, pointing to the contact for his commanding officer. "You can call Camp Lejeune. They will confirm everything. I just want to go home." Frick stared at the papers but ignored the verification. He ignored the clerk who said he had seen Marines before. He ignored a veteran in line who nodded at Lewis' medals and muttered, "That's a Bronze Star." "You giving me attitude?" Frick barked. "No, sir," Lewis replied. Frick slammed handcuffs on him. The metals clinked against the metal as Lewis' hands were locked behind his back. Charges: impersonating a military member. Suspicious activity. Lies that could be disproven in minutes. He was shoved into the back of the patrol car, 50 miles from home. Other customers had watched in silence, some recording with their phones. The air was heavy with tension. Lewis stayed calm. Every training exercise he had done now mattered. Don't resist, don't panic, stay collected. At the station, the reaction was immediate. Sergeant Mike Turner, the booking officer, had served 2 tours in Iraq. He knew military uniforms and medals. He looked at Lewis, then at Fricks. "What the hell did you do?" Fricks muttered. He was suspicious. "Reached for something." "Reaching for his ID because you asked for it?" Turner asked, disbelief in his voice. He unlocked the handcuffs and released Lewis. Turner checked the ID, dog tags, and orders. Everything matched. "Sergeant Lewis, I am sorry. This should never have happened." Lewis rubbed his wrists. He nodded. His calm mask stayed, but the tension in his eyes spoke volumes. He was exhausted, frustrated, and relieved all at once. Turner called Camp Lejeune to verify. Confirmed. 3 tours, 2 Purple Hearts, Bronze Star. Recommended for promotion. Why was he arrested? Turner muttered. Meanwhile, word of the incident started spreading. Witnesses had recorded it. Videos of a decorated Marine being arrested at a gas station for pumping gas were now online. People could see the uniform, the medals, the calm demeanor of Lewis, and the aggressive, unnecessary behavior of Fricks. The fallout was coming, and no one in the small town could ignore it. Within hours, the Pentagon would call. Within days, federal investigations would begin. And Fricks, the officer with a history of racial targeting, had no idea the storm he had just walked into. By the time Lewis left the station, he had still not reached his family. But the moment had already changed the trajectory of everyone involved. The wrong man had been picked to humiliate, and the truth had witnesses, video, and verifiable evidence to back it up. The clock was ticking. Type wrong in the comments if you think this arrest was completely unjust. The moment Sergeant Andre Lewis stepped out of the patrol car, he could feel the weight of injustice pressing down on him. He had survived explosions, gunfire, and ambushes in Afghanistan, but nothing compared to this. Being treated like a criminal in his own country, in full dress uniform, 50 miles from home. By the time Lewis' mother heard the news, she was preparing breakfast, thinking her son would walk in any minute with a smile and stories from deployment. The call from the local sheriff's office shattered that peace. "He's been arrested," the dispatcher said. "For what?" "They're saying impersonating a service member." His sister, Jasmine, was the first to rush to the station. How could this happen? She yelled, nearly in tears. She saw Lewis sitting calmly, medals clinking, hands free now, but the shock on his face mirrored her own. "He just came home," she whispered. At the same time, Sergeant Mike Turner was making his own calls. He knew this wasn't just a local issue. Turner had spent time in Iraq. He had seen the value of discipline, respect, and honor. Fricks's behavior was reckless, dangerous, and deeply unfair. Turner reached Camp Lejeune. Confirmation came immediately. 3 tours, 2 Purple Hearts, Bronze Star, everything authentic. This is a federal matter now, Turner told himself. Fricks tried to write his report later that day. He claimed Lewis had been acting suspicious, claimed the ID could have been fake, claimed he was just following procedure. But the problem was clear. Every officer in the station had seen the body cam footage. They had heard Turner confirm the truth. Fricks's excuses sounded hollow. Meanwhile, Lewis drove home with Turner after being released. The drive was silent, filled with tension and quiet frustration. When they reached his mother's house, she ran to the door, tears streaming down her face. "Onder," she screamed. "Oh my God, my baby." He hugged her, feeling a mix of relief and anger. The medals on his chest pressed into her shoulders as she shook, crying, "I don't understand how anyone could do this to you." Turner stayed for dinner, insisting on seeing Lewis' family and showing them that not all law enforcement officers were like Cricks. "Thank you for your service," he said quietly. "And thank you for trusting me to help you today." Lewis nodded. "Thank you for seeing me," he replied. By the next morning, the story had gone viral. One of the gas station witnesses uploaded the video. Within hours, it spread across social media: Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. The caption: "Marine in dress uniform arrested at gas station for pumping gas." Views climbed rapidly. Within 3 hours, it hit 500,000. Within 6 hours, it was national news. Within 12, 5 million people had seen it. Veterans groups reacted immediately. The VFW posted statements condemning the arrest. Active duty Marines and soldiers shared the video, expressing outrage. The NAACP and ACLU issued official statements demanding accountability. Public anger grew fast, fueled by the undeniable evidence. Lewis had done nothing wrong. At the sheriff's office, federal agents arrived. FBI agents from the Civil Rights Division reviewed the gas station footage, high-definition video, and witness accounts. Every detail matched. Lewis stayed calm, followed instructions, and displayed no threatening behavior. Cricks escalated unnecessarily. The pattern in Cricks's past cases became obvious. Black men, no cause, repeated incidents. Federal investigators opened multiple charges: assault on a military service member, deprivation of rights under color of law, false imprisonment, official misconduct, and a hate crime enhancement. Cricks had no defense against the evidence. His prior complaints, all dismissed, now painted a clear picture of racial targeting. Inside the courtroom, the story unfolded in meticulous detail. Prosecutors showed the gas station video first. The jury watched in silence as Lewis knelt on the pavement, medals pressed against the cold concrete, answering Cricks calmly. Then they saw the paperwork: deployment orders, dog tags, ID. Everything authentic. When Cricks tried to explain, saying he didn't recognize the uniform, prosecutors asked a simple question: "What does the jacket say across the chest?" Cricks muttered, "U.S. Marines." The room went silent. "And you claim you didn't know he was in the military?" Prosecutors pressed. Cricks could not answer. Every excuse crumbled. Outside the courtroom, public support for Lewis grew. Social media amplified every detail. Hashtags like #JusticeForLewis and #HonOrTheUniform trended nationwide. People demanded accountability. Opinion pieces appeared in newspapers and news sites. A Marine arrested for pumping gas. What are we teaching our officers? Veterans shared first-hand experiences of similar treatment. In Georgia, lawmakers began to speak. "We cannot allow service members, especially black veterans, to be treated like criminals when they return home," one state senator said on TV. "This is a clear violation of their rights." The Pentagon issued a statement, confirming support for Lewis and condemning the arrest. New rules were promised to ensure verification of military service before any confrontation. Meanwhile, Lewis tried to process what had happened. He thought about his deployments, the people he had saved, the sacrifices he had made. And yet, at that gas station, none of that mattered to Cricks. He had been reduced to suspicion, racial bias, and the assumption that he was a threat. It was a bitter pill to swallow. His mother, sitting in the living room, looked at him with tears in her eyes. "I thought the worst was over when you came home," she whispered. "But they treated you worse than the enemy did." Lewis shook his head, keeping calm for her. "Mom, I'm safe now. That's all that matters." The trial progressed quickly. Federal prosecutors painted a clear picture. Cricks had overstepped every boundary. There was no protocol that justified arresting a Marine pumping gas. Every claim of suspicious behavior was disproved. Every excuse about the ID being fake fell apart under scrutiny. Military experts testified, confirming the authenticity of Lewis's uniform and medals. Jury deliberations did not take long. The evidence was overwhelming. Fricks was guilty on all counts: assault on a military service member, deprivation of rights, false imprisonment, misconduct, hate crime enhancement. When the judge, a Navy veteran, spoke, his words cut deep. You didn't see a Marine. You didn't see medals. You saw only what you wanted to see. And why? Because of race. You humiliated a man who has given more to this country than you ever will. The sentence: 62 years in federal prison. No chance for parole. Fricks had lost everything: his badge, his pension, his reputation, and now his freedom. Lewis also filed a civil lawsuit against the county and state. The settlement reached $16.8 million, the largest in state history for police misconduct. But money could not erase the humiliation, the trauma, or the memory of being treated like a criminal in his own country. Months later, Lewis would stand before Congress to speak about the treatment of black veterans. Cameras recorded every word. He spoke calmly, measured, but every sentence carried weight. I have PTSD from combat. But the arrest was worse. In Afghanistan, I knew my enemy. At the gas station, I was the enemy in my own country. I was 50 miles from home, wearing the uniform I served in, and I was put on the ground like a criminal. His story became a catalyst for change. Police departments nationwide revised training. New laws ensured verification of service before confrontation. Lewis's experience became part of the curriculum for law enforcement. The Service Member Protection Act passed, and the country watched, realizing the cost of bias and injustice. Type respect in the comments if you believe Sergeant Lewis deserved justice. The courtroom was tense. Every seat filled. Cameras flashed. Journalists scribbled notes rapidly. Federal prosecutors began with the gas station footage, playing it frame by frame. Sergeant Andre Lewis knelt calmly on the pavement, medals pressed against his uniform, hands raised, obeying orders. Officer Marcus Fricks hovered, angry and impatient, ignoring every witness. The jury watched as Lewis slowly reached for his ID when Fricks shouted, "Hands up! Don't move." It was obvious to everyone. Lewis followed instructions, stayed calm, and did nothing wrong. Fricks escalated unnecessarily. Every gesture, every word, every movement on the video told the same story. Prosecutors introduced Lewis's service record next. 3 deployments, 2 Purple Hearts, Bronze Star for Valor. Each medal had a story. Bullets flying, Marines trapped, Lewis running into enemy fire to save his team. Every expert witness confirmed the authenticity of the uniform, the medals, and the military ID. Holographic seals, deployment papers, verified contacts. There was no doubt. Fricks's defense tried a few excuses. He might not have recognized the uniform, his lawyer said. The ID could have been fake. The prosecutor responded calmly but firmly. What does the jacket say across the chest? U.S. Marines, the lawyer muttered. And yet you arrested him for pumping gas. The room fell silent. Every explanation crumbled under scrutiny. The prosecutor turned to the jury. This is a pattern. 4 previous complaints. All victims black. None punished. Today, that pattern led to the arrest of a decorated Marine, simply for existing while black. No threat. No crime. Only prejudice. Outside the courtroom, the story had already gone viral. Millions had seen the video. Social media exploded with outrage. Hashtag Justice for Lewis. Hashtag Honor the Uniform. Hashtag Black Veterans Matter. Views climbed into the tens of millions across YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, and Facebook. Veterans groups, civil rights organizations, and news outlets demanded accountability. Veterans groups issued statements. This is unacceptable. We cannot allow service members, especially black veterans, to face racial profiling and abuse from law enforcement, the VFW wrote. Active duty soldiers shared posts, commenting on the humiliation of one of their own. The NAACP condemned the arrest as a civil rights violation. ACLU lawyers volunteered to provide support. In Georgia, the Pentagon stepped in. Officials demanded explanations from the sheriff's office. Military lawyers reviewed Lewis's service record and the arrest video. The evidence was indisputable. The arrest violated federal law, military protections, and basic decency. Within 72 hours, the Pentagon issued a public statement condemning the incident and pledging support for Lewis. At home, Lewis tried to rest, but the trauma lingered. He had survived war zones, but being humiliated in his own country left a scar that medals could not erase. His mother and sister tried to comfort him. "They cannot take away your honor, Onder," his mother said, tears flowing. "They cannot take away who you are." Lewis nodded silently. The words helped, but the anger simmered quietly inside him. The trial proceeded quickly. Federal prosecutors painted a clear picture of misconduct, racial bias, and abuse of power. Witnesses testified. Customers at the gas station, the clerk, and other officers who observed Fricks's behavior. Each confirmed Lewis's calm demeanor and Fricks's unnecessary aggression. The jury saw the truth unfold in real time. Fricks's prior complaints were reviewed. 4 separate incidents, all involving black men. No cause, all dismissed. The pattern of bias was undeniable. Prosecutors emphasized that today, Fricks had humiliated a decorated Marine. His actions were no longer a local issue. They were a federal violation with national attention. When Fricks tried to defend himself in court, he stammered. I thought, maybe." Prosecutors interrupted. "There is no procedure for arresting a Marine for pumping gas. There is no justification for your actions. Your badge is not a license to humiliate." The judge, a retired Navy officer, leaned forward, his face stern. "You did not see a Marine," the judge said slowly. "You did not see medals. You saw only what you wanted to see. And why? Because of race. You humiliated a man who has served his country more than you ever will. Justice demands accountability." The jury deliberated briefly. Every piece of evidence was clear. Fricks was guilty on all counts: assault on a service member, deprivation of rights under color of law, false imprisonment, official misconduct, and hate crime enhancement. The sentence: 62 years in federal prison, no chance for parole. One of the longest sentences ever for police misconduct. Lewis also filed a civil lawsuit against the county and state. Settlement negotiations moved quickly. The amount, $16.8 million, the largest settlement in state history for police misconduct. Fricks lost everything: his badge, pension, reputation, and freedom. But money could not erase the trauma or the memory of being treated like a criminal in his own country. Months later, Lewis stood before Congress, invited to speak about black veterans' treatment. Cameras recorded every word. His voice was calm, steady, but carried the weight of injustice. "I have PTSD from combat," he said. But the arrest was worse. In Afghanistan, I knew my enemy. At the gas station, I was the enemy in my own country. 50 miles from home, wearing the uniform I served in, I was treated like a criminal. He continued, 2 Purple Hearts. Bronze Star for valor. I risked my life for this country. Yet at home, I was humiliated. I am not the only one this happened to. But I was recorded. I was supported. I was proven right. Others are not so lucky. Congress listened. Veterans, lawmakers, and citizens watched. Lewis's testimony became a turning point. Policies changed. Police departments now require verification of military service before any confrontation with service members in uniform. Training programs were updated to include Lewis's arrest footage. Officers were taught how not to escalate situations. The Service Member Protection Act passed, largely inspired by his experience. Lewis's case became a national lesson in accountability, bias, and respect. The uniform and medals he wore now carried additional weight, a symbol not only of valor, but of resilience and justice. Despite the victory, Lewis knew some wounds could never heal. The humiliation, the fear, the sense of being targeted in his own country. These were scars that medals could not cover. Yet he chose to focus on the change he inspired. He chose to fight so the next Black Marine could pump gas without fear, without being harassed, without being humiliated. The world had watched. Social media continued to replay the video. News segments recapped the arrest, the trial, the sentence. Veterans shared their own stories. Civil rights groups cited the case as a turning point. Lewis's calm demeanor, his courage under scrutiny, and his refusal to retaliate violently became an example of dignity and strength. At home, his mother hugged him every morning, relief and pride in her eyes. His sister smiled more often, knowing justice had finally been served. Lewis looked at his medals, his uniform, and remembered the gas station. That moment of humiliation had sparked a nationwide conversation. That moment had changed policies, laws, and public awareness. "I went to war for this country," Lewis said later in an interview. "I should not have to go to war with this country just to come home. But now, maybe the next generation won't have to. Maybe this won't happen again." And for the first time in weeks, he felt a sense of peace. Justice had been served. Accountability had been established. The system, for once, had worked. And Sergeant Andre Lewis could finally begin the long process of healing. Comment below if you think 62 years was the right sentence. If you believe justice should be automatic for every veteran, type justice.